We're pretty close to 7 p.m. here and everybody's in, so I think we'll go ahead and get started if that's all right. Welcome everybody to the Plan Commission meeting for Monday, March 24th, 2014. First order of business here is to call the roll.
Keach.
Here.
Nepp.
Here.
Farrell.
Here.
Elam. Here. Ritterbusch.
Here.
Ryan. Smock.
Here.
Westlake.
Here.
And Zobrist.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Great. First item tonight is approval of the minutes from February 24th. I did not attend that meeting, so I'd like everybody to take a look at those and tell me if there's been any changes or omissions or anything that needs to be addressed in that. Hearing none, I'd like to, do we have any motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
No, it does say that Farrell was at the meeting. I'll make a correction to your comment that you weren't there.
That is very interesting. I was probably there in spirit, but not in form.
Sure you weren't
Could we make that change? It does show me.
Phil actually pointed that one.
That was nice of you, Phil.
I think his name was tossed around, but.
All right, so we do need to remove me from the minutes on that. Any other changes? Did I vote on anything? Okay, so do we have a second now with that change?
I'll second that.
Okay. Will you be so kind as to call roll?
Smock.
Yes.
Westlake.
Yes.
Zobrist.
Yes.
Ritterbusch.
Yes.
Nepp.
Yes.
Keach.
Yes.
Elam. Yes. And Farrell.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, first part of the meeting tonight, we're going to do the public hearings. Counselor, would you give us a quick bit of insight on how this runs?
Absolutely. Public hearing is being held tonight pursuant to published notice. Any person wishing to address a plan commission will be afforded an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to address the plan commission will be sworn in by our court reporter and will give their testimony under oath or affirmation. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the plan commission will make a recommendation to the village board. The plan commission makes recommendations only. The village board is responsible for final action on these matters.
Great. First public hearing this evening is petition number 14-03 SP. BLH LLC is seeking a special use permit to allow for car rental at 1050 West Jefferson Street, currently zoned I-2. Is there anyone here in the public that would like to speak to that? Go ahead and sign in, please, swear in, and then give us your name.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good evening. I'm Tim Breaker, 415 Coral Drive, and I'm here representing BLH LLC, and we are representing the special use permit for the property located at 1058 West Jefferson for the purpose of a car rental facility. The building will be used for offices, and the parking area will be used for rental vehicles and customer parking. It's my understanding it goes through, they'll have about 10 to 15 cars at one time, maybe on site. And I don't know if you're aware of the site, but the building is located with the 1058, and the parking is all in that area there as well. So there'll be plenty of area to accommodate the parking.
Okay, great. Is there anyone here that has any comments or questions for Mr. Breaker?
I have a question. Will the business be a franchise rental facility, or?
Yes.
Do we know the name of that franchise? Or?
I think, yeah. I don't know if they're if it's public knowledge yet or
Okay.
not, but it's a national firm,
They may still be under the letter of intent phase.
so.
Any other comments or questions from the table? Would anyone from the public like to discuss anything? I think you need to, there you go. You know the drill.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Bob Bright, 137 West Chicago Street, Morton, Illinois. I was having trouble hearing the gentleman. Is it 1050 or 1058?
1058.
1058. Does this need to be changed?
Yeah, 1058 is the site, but Roger, is 1050 included in the site because of the parking?
1050 is a different property.
It is, okay, so then, from the what I'm looking at here, he's probably correct. The petition needs to be for 1058 and probably 1060, is that correct?
Mine says 1058. I don't know.
On the agenda, it says 10:50.
Okay, perfect. So the petition itself is
Yeah.
correct, Bob.
I know do I address the board or can I address this gentleman?
The board.
To us,
I think someone asked him, was it a franchise? What was his response?
It's not public record yet.
What was the franchise?
he did not disclose.
It's not official yet, but for public release, but it is, he did say it is a franchise. Didn't give us the name.
What's the reluctance to getting the name?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the parties involved, but I can tell you oftentimes in a commercial deal, specifically with franchises or with national brands, until the deal is signed and in paper, they don't like to release that information. It could cause another company to try to do something adversarial or sneak into the deal. Oftentimes, these aren't under contract until potential zoning changes have been agreed to. They're usually a condition of the sale or the lease. That's conjecture on my part, but that's what my
No, that
expectation
makes
is.
sense.
Yeah.
And
Is
even
it
though I
used
asked,
cars,
even though I
new
asked the
cars?
question, I don't know that it's pertinent to the use of the property, which franchise it would be. I did ask, but I don't know that it's pertinent to how the property is being used. Maybe Mr. Spango could answer that question.
Well,
For the purpose of.
maybe this is not the right board, but my reluctance with the village commissions, whatever you want to call the various boards, they may be doing their job right, but it's not very transparent what you're doing.
How does that pertain, again, to get you back on task, though, you're up here to speak specifically to this special use request. Does this come full circle back onto that, Bob?
Restate it, I'm having trouble hearing, I'm sorry.
Well, I understand your concern over transparency, as it were, but how does that pertain to this particular public hearing regarding this special use permit? Because we're being,
Well, there's a reluctance to ask a lot of questions of a petitioner,
It's not our
and they hide behind,
It's not our responsibility to know who is going to rent that. It's our responsibility to know how the property is going to be used. That's the only thing we're concerned about. Is it appropriate use for that particular piece of property?
Yeah.
That's our only concern.
but in your discussion, would it make a difference if it's used cars or new cars?
I don't know that it would, but it's actually car rental.
There's used car rental places.
Yeah.
Is it used car, sir?
You have to
Most
address
car
the-
rentals are used,
You have
right?
to address the board, Bob.
They're only new ones.
No, the reason I'm confused, because I spoke at the prior board, and I had an opportunity to talk to the petitioner.
Correct. Procedurally, he has right to cross-examine any witness who testified. So if you, we talked about this last meeting, as long as you display the proper decorum in asking the witness questions, you can ask questions directly of the witness. The witness may or may not respond to your question, but you have the opportunity to ask questions you feel are relevant to this board's determination of the issues in front. So if you want to ask a question to the witness who testified, you do have that opportunity, just like at the ZBA meeting.
Like, new or used cars?
They're only new until they're rented once.
Well, that begs my question, sir.
Well, I guess define the difference between a new and a used car, then, I guess.
You know the difference between an enterprise and someone that rents used cars is 4 years or older?
I don't know the exact age of the cars they'll be renting, but it's a national chain, so I'm assuming there will be newer model cars.
Okay.
I don't know their policy on when they switch their cars now.
Well, it sounds like it's not a new, what I call an enterprise type operation, let's put it that way. Initially, I thought enterprise was moving out of layman's into their own facility, but that's not what this gentleman's saying.
I don't know that he's saying any of that, Bob. I think he's saying that he's not certain that he can disclose that, and that he's given you as much information as he can. Do you have any other questions?
I'm trying to think this through.
Gotcha.
I have 30 seconds?
I'll give you that for sure.
Thank you.
But Roger's got a timer going.
Now,
You could sing the Jeopardy.
this is a general question to the board, not as to his situation. When you have an I-2, I thought any any category below that was an automatic. So if I have an I-2 and I want to make that my house, I don't have to do anything. Because the way that things are classified,
You mean if it's at a higher density use or a higher use, you can always revert back to one of the lower uses? Is that what you're thinking?
right, if it's industrial, I can put any B in there, I can put any R2 in there, I can put any R in there.
Not in its entirety, no. It's pretty specific in the book that certain things fall under the previous category and this category, but it's not carte blanche. It's not all of them. You have to be kind of specific and look through to make sure. In this particular case, on I-2, this would be a special use under I-2, which is why he's petitioning. It isn't necessarily a change in zoning per se or density or intended use. It's a special use permit he's requesting. All car rental, sales, anything of that nature require special use so that they come before this board so that we can vet them a little bit.
The village,
So the I-2 is going to stand, it's just as a spatial
That's
use
correct.
variance.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thanks for the education.
Thank you. Any other questions from the crowd? Okay. Any other comments from the table? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion is moved. Do we have a second?
second.
We had a race to second. I'd like that noted with this commission. Any further discussion on this? Okay, we call.
Keach,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Elam. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next part of the public hearing, we have an amending municipal code, an amendment to municipal code section 10-4-6B9 regarding decorative masonry. Roger, could you give me just a quick primer for the table on what this entails?
Sure. What we were trying to do is make it so that we don't know all the materials that there are to use, nor do we know what materials they're going to be coming out with in the future. So we could, we changed our wording to, before it amounted to, if you were building a new building, they could grant that, but didn't say that if you were doing a remodel. So now we've kind of got both of those covered, and the board can, at their choice, you know, if they approve that particular material, they can adopt that, or give them permission to use those materials
Okay, great.
versus masonry.
Does that make sense to everyone here? Are there any questions here on the table about this little change to the code?
So you're not really addressing the materials with this, you're
Specifically,
just saying
no.
that it could be on a remodeling also,
Yeah.
not just new buildings.
Yeah, because we, like I said, they come out, well, you know, from your professional experience, they come out with these new things that we don't know what they are gonna have next year, so, this would be a good quality product from what we've been told. And it's actually who's requesting this is the Sheet Metal Workers Union, which is, they work with metal, not brick. So I can understand their position and wanting to have some of that product on their buildings, so.
Anyone else with questions regarding this change? Hearing no further comments or questions, anyone from the public want to speak on this?
I am with the sheet metal workers, and I was just here in case there was any questions. We submitted all the required documents.
Even brought a sample for us. I appreciate that.
Is there a sample that we can look at?
Yeah, right back here.
What does this have to do with sheet metal?
It's hard to pass around.
Pardon?
What does this have to do with sheet metal?
What does it have to do?
Yeah.
It's just, it's what they want to do to the front of their building.
Okay, but I'm saying, okay. Oh, I
Right
see.
now, we
It's not
can't-
about sheet metal, it's about your building.
Yeah.
I understand.
But we're also in the school, and we're gonna use this as a teaching class.
Okay.
Our premises are gonna be.
So this is not about approving any particular sheet metal as a building
No.
facade? Okay.
No, my understanding is this is not having to do with the materials itself, it's just to allow in a remodel,
Okay.
Yeah.
which just previously was maybe,
I thought it might be nice to have
Just
that
missed.
sample so everybody kind of knows
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I'll make a motion that we amend the municipal code, section 10-4-B, as 9.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further conversation? Okay, if you call.
Keach,
Yes.
Neb,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Elon,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Ridbush,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next part of the public hearing is a continuation from previous meetings regarding the mixed-use zoning classification. It's my understanding this went through the board. I apologize, I had to miss last meeting. This went through the, kind of a once-over, if you will, from the trustees. Were there any comments, Roger, that came back from, I know we're missing
No.
our trustee this week, but,
No.
okay. My only comment here on this is, obviously, I'm ready for this to stop showing up as a continuation on our agendas. However, since Mr. Newhouse was a part of the process here to bring this in and request that we look at it, I feel like it might not be a terrible thing to have him involved just one last time prior to it getting adopted. But that's really, it's up to you guys how we handle this. It'd be pretty self-serving for me to make a comment and then motion on it, but that's just a thought from
I do
my
feel
end.
like last week, though, he said that they're happy with what we have, we needed to all look through it one more time and make sure there was nothing we wanted to add or anything we wanted to change
Okay, good.
before it went to the board. So I don't know that he was looking for a lot more discussion or a lot more input. Is that what the rest of the,
Yeah, I think what
Attendees
we
got
did was
from last
we saw for the first time since it was talked about at the board, and if we were going to approve it, we thought we needed just one more month to review it if we wanted to.
Okay, great.
So I don't think we need to push it.
Well, let's do that then. So with regard to that, is there any question, comments, thoughts that came about after this follow-up review? Anyone in the crowd want to speak regarding the mixed use? You know, I had a feeling. Would you please come up and state your name and address again for us? There are no such thing.
Bob Wright, 137 West Carter Street, Morton.
Thank you, Bob.
Question to you, sir.
Yes?
What you have before you, is that available to me? And so how do I know
Absolutely.
what you're reviewing?
Yeah, you bet. There's a copy right there for you.
Right here.
Right there?
It's
Okay.
yours.
Okay, it's not on the website then.
I don't believe this is on the website yet.
No.
Well, it was a document that was still in progress of being completed, so I don't know that we would offer it out until it was certainly completed. Like if a document is in the process of being completed, you don't have to provide, you wouldn't provide it publicly.
Well, when do you get the public's input if they can't see the document till it's after the fact?
Well, we had preliminary meetings, you and I have discussed this, that I think you felt were not posted, often enough or in as many areas as possible, but when we had those subcommittee meetings, there certainly could have been public interaction. If you would like to review this, Bob, and have us push it for another meeting, I'm happy to oblige, and that way you've got proper time to review it, and you can come here fresh and full of questions for the next meeting.
Procedurally, this matter.
I'll take your offer.
I figured you would.
Procedurally,
Thank you.
Bob, this matter goes, from this is a PowerPoint slide, a summary of an ordinance, and a mandatory ordinance amending the village code would be prepared and presented to the village board. The village board would also take comment before their final action on this. So where we are procedurally is whenever the plan commission makes their final action, it'd be a recommendation to the village board for passage. A subsequent document based off what Roger just offered to you would be prepared. That would just say we're incorporating this into the village code, and there will be a village board meeting as well on the same matter.
Does that make sense? You got to remember that this board, we make a recommendation only. We don't actually pass it. From here, it then goes to the very next village board meeting where the trustees discuss what we've talked about here and passed on. And it's at that time that you can have comments, have discussion with the trustees regarding questions, thoughts, concerns prior to its adoption. All we do is make a recommendation to the trustees.
No, I understand the process.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it, you and I've had a discussion before about
Yes.
transparency. I'm not trying to say you're not doing your job properly, but the more input you get from the public, it's my impression if this wasn't a public hearing, I couldn't necessarily get up and address you, the board. Certainly I couldn't address this gentleman here. So
I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
how much effort do you put forward to get the input from the residents of the village of Morton?
The required amount.
Why not more?
Well, for example, on the public hearing that we just finished with BLH LLC, our ordinance requires that we send a notice out to everybody within 250 feet, all the adjoining property owners. It also is required that we put that legal notice in the paper at least 15 days prior to the meeting, which we've done. And that is the extent of what we don't go and pull them off the street to come in and hear it. It's on our website, it's out there. If somebody's interested, they can find the information.
Okay, but I'm just told it's not out there. It's right there.
This
Yeah.
wasn't a finished product yet. That's
Well, and
why-
we've been talking about this at meetings for months,
Can I
right? I
also
mean, it's
just-
been on the agenda
Can I
for,
just make a note that we also, the meetings that we had some subcommittee meetings about
And they were
this
posted.
issue, where the meetings were publicly posted. It was a public meeting, and we had at least 3 of those where we actually were talking through the details of this document at that meeting, and it was an open meeting.
No, I
So, I
appreciate
mean, it
that,
was,
but
there was nothing, it was totally transparent, absolutely transparent. Just wanted you to know.
no, you're doing the minimum required.
No,
All I'm
it was-
suggesting is put something in the Courier or in the Times News. Saying, this is an important thing you're discussing here, this joint commercial residential, is to get input more than just from your experience. I bet you've had this many people at each of those meetings, right? The subcommittee?
Well, that showed how much interest there was in it. I mean,
Right, because it,
it was publicly advertised. People who are interested in this kind of thing can look those things up in public notice.
And in terms of whether the notice given by this board, more than just the minimum legally required notice is given. I work with 50 government bodies, most of which are actually every one of them smaller than Morton, but none of them post their meetings on YouTube where they have conversations and talk about various matters of village business. None of them videotape them and put them on TV. So in defense of this board, I would disagree with the contention that the board gives the minimum legally required notice. The minimum legally required notice and then some is provided by this board and by the zoning board and the village board, others.
Well, clarification only to the village attorney. Doesn't the Open Meetings Act require
Does the Open Meetings Act require?
the videoing?
Absolutely not.
I thought I read something recently where,
If you wanted to walk in with the camera and record it yourself personally, you're absolutely entitled to do that. And if a News 25 wanted to send a camera, they can absolutely do that. But in terms of the village broadcasting it or the village putting it on YouTube, none of that is required by the Open Meetings Act.
right, the village website, they put the agendas there in the minutes, and you got the video. But my understanding of the Open Meetings Act is that's mandated because of the size of the village.
The video recording is not mandated.
Pardon?
Video recording is not mandated by the Open Meetings Act for the village.
I'm referring to,
But
I think this through.
I'd be happy.
Having the website. The
No.
website's,
Making postings of agendas and minutes on the website is required by the Open Meetings Act. Now, for a more thorough debate, maybe you and I can talk after the meeting. I don't know how relevant this is to the rest of the board or the public hearing or those present, but, I'd be happy to discuss this with you after the meeting. But as a general point to your testimony that this board didn't give sufficient notice on this, my simple point was they give more than others and more than they have to. What they have to and that we can talk about after the meeting if you like.
no, I'm going to take your suggestion. I'll meet you afterwards.
Very good. I'll be here.
But, no. I told the zoning board of appeals, they need more transparency. I think this board needs more transparency. The village board needs more transparency. When you say you're going to amend an ordinance, masonry requirement, what does that tell the person that's looking at the agenda? I rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we've had our debates here and dialogue on this. Is there anyone who wants to make a motion either direction on this?
I'll make a motion
Motion to approve or to?
to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve on the table. Is there anyone who would second?
I second.
We have a second. Any further conversation? Okay.
Keach,
Yes.
Net,
Yes.
Ritterbush,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Elam. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public hearings for the meeting. We'll now move on to other business. First item under other business is a final plat of the village of Hollybrook, which is a subdivision of Lot A of the Agape subdivision, a subdivision of Lot 1 and Highland Street subdivision, a subdivision of part of the east half of the southwest quarter of Section 9, T25 North, R3 West, consisting of 4.631 acres plus or minus. Now you have the final plat in your agenda. Roger, has there been any alterations or changes from the preliminary plat that was brought before us?
No, there was some fine tuning that was done to it to accommodate some
Easement.
various easements.
Yeah, I saw that.
And there was a lot of scrutiny given to that from both the Public Works side of it, our fire chief, everybody's now, we're good with it and
Okay.
ready to present it to you.
Good. Were there any, I mean, obviously, this was in pretty good shape before. The easements are now all addressed. Everyone's on the same page then?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments here from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? It's not a public hearing, never mind. All right, let's move this. Anybody want to make a motion on it?
Make a motion, we approve.
We have a motion to approve. Any second?
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Keach,
Yes.
Neb,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Zobrist.
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Elam. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes other business. Mr. Spangler, you have anything for us this evening?
No, I don't know what happened to my,
I'm sure you had that time.
we almost made it.
Well, that's
No,
all
I have
right.
nothing else.
I can't help you with that. Obviously, Trustee Newhouse is out today, so I think that's,
I'm going to jump in, and I'm sorry to do it right before you're ready to go. I made a note during our first public hearing, and as we got going on conversation, I lost track of it in my head, and after the vote, it came back to my mind. We have the agenda hearing with the first petition, 1403 SP, and since the agenda did not describe the property address correctly, it'd be my advice that we reconsider the prior board action, which would take a motion to reconsider in a second, and then we table it so we can reset the public hearing with the proper address.
in order to address the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the description of the property is 150, not 158, and to those interested, that does depict a different property. So that would be my recommendation to the board.
Okay.
Even if the legal notice says the correct information?
Correct. If the legal notice that ran in the paper has the correct information, then we would only have to correct the agenda. You wouldn't have to republish the legal notice, because once you publish the legal notice in the paper, you can continue without having to republish in the paper. So, but the Plan Commission agenda would be the correction item.
Okay. So bearing that in mind, can we get a motion for, we need to rescind this?
Motion to reconsider.
Yeah, a motion to reconsider from someone here at the table.
Motion to reconsider on the table.
We'll need a second.
Second.
Thank you. And if you could call that when you get an opportunity?
Farrell,
Yes.
Elam. Yes. Keach,
Yes.
Neb,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
and Zobrist.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if I'm understanding now, we'll also need a motion to table this for next meeting?
That's correct.
Okay. Apologies, Mr. Breaker, if that makes a tremendous amount of problems for your potential tenant. Do we have a motion for tabling this till next meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion. May we have a second?
Second.
Any further conversation? All right, if you'll call a roll.
Elam. Yes. Farrell,
Yes.
Keach,
Yes.
Neb,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
and Zobrist.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was all I had. Thank you.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the agenda. If there's no further comments, may we have a motion to adjourn? Don't be shy.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
There we go. Thank you very much, everybody.
You gotta call it.
Oh, yes,
Say
right.
aye.
May we call that roll? You saw me shutting it down, as you know my.
I'll do a majority.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.